Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. It's been 3 whole weeks.
It has been. We said 2 weeks last time, but we forgot there were 3 Tuesdays in December or something.
Yeah, it's a time dilation
Confusing.
principle. You'll have to
Oh,
consult Albert Einstein for the
time
details.
dilation. Oh,
Yeah.
using big words already. Okay.
Yes,
All right. So
absolutely.
did you say your name? Not that anyone.
Hi, everybody. My name's Robert
Yeah,
Winters.
it's right on the screen. Mine's
Yeah.
Judy Nathans.
All
Yeah.
right. So anyway, it's welcome to the new year.
Yeah.
It's yeah, there's a lot of hope and optimism. Vaccines on the
I
way,
know.
and
Yeah.
2020 sucks by all accounts.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% feeling all uplifted like we're out of anything yet.
Oh,
It just
I'm
still
not at
feels like
all.
we're
No.
under the
No,
dark
we're going
cloud.
into the
So
darkness
I mean,
physically, and then yeah.
yeah, the vaccine distribution is a great sign of hope,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and we're not heading into we will soon not be heading into the winter. Eventually, we'll be heading out of the winter, which also
Right.
will help.
And it actually
Uh,
gets lighter every day. People don't realize that
yes,
since
yeah,
23rd. So
yeah.
you kind of look for that every second it gets lighter.
One of the ideas that I've been sort of floating to a few people, sort of in the political arena, but otherwise too, is that, I wasn't around for the end of World War II, not that old, but Vietnam War didn't end sort of like with, Victory Day or anything like
No,
that.
it's sad.
But there is a kind of a phenomenon when a war is over,
Yeah.
where people feel some level of elation.
Yeah.
And people sort of they'll take on a sense of promise and hope, and and positivity. So the way I've been saying it to people, and I really do believe this, is that in a sense we are soon to be coming, well, sooner or later we'll be coming to the end of 2 wars. One in 15 days,
Oh,
when
that
we
man.
lose
Yeah.
we lose an insane president,
God.
and it will feel like a cloud has been lifted for many of us. And
Yeah.
then with a vaccine in the pipeline,
Yeah.
hopefully at some point during the year 2021, another big cloud will be lifted. And
Yeah.
I kind of just have an intuitive sense that there may be, don't be shocked if there's a lot of people feeling awfully good later this year.
But that didn't you feel that the Saturday when when they declared him the winner, the Saturday after
Yeah, yeah,
surge,
it was a
people were
brief.
beeping horns. I don't know. I thought it was a
No,
relief. It was
it
like
was
something had just been
That's right.
switched
It was
on.
a
Yeah.
celebration, but the
Yeah.
thing is, that's different than sort of,
Yeah.
everybody planning and
Well,
investing and making good things happen, and
I
and
wish I was
trying
as
new
hopeful
things.
as you, because all I can see is that there's going to be armed insurrection on tomorrow. They've got the National Guard has now been called into DC,
I
and,
never
and the
saw it, thought I'd see the day.
inauguration. Can you imagine what's
Yes.
going to happen at the inauguration? Because these people have guns. I'm sorry, I hate to say these people, but the ones that they have guns.
You
Big deal.
know,
You
the
know?
way, I've sort of come to look at a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
as children who don't grow up. When they were little kids, they liked to play army, and they still like to play army, whether they're sort of trying to have a
You talking about
revolution.
men by any chance here?
It is a male thing. It is really a
Yeah.
male thing. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm going to
Yeah.
apologize for my entire gender.
Yeah.
And
Well,
people
there
do need
are
to grow
lots
up
of
and get
women.
over it.
Yeah, lots of women are carrying guns now because they go along
I
with
know,
that.
I know, I
You
know,
know.
but
Yeah.
I tell you, it has been
Oh,
absolutely surreal. I mean, I know
yeah.
this is Cambridge Inside Out. We should really focus more on local things, but it
No,
has
it's
just been
yeah.
surreal to
Yep.
see some of
I
these
know.
things playing out.
I
You
know.
know,
Some
but I still keep, when people get them, I will still stand by my feeling that I felt really for years, which is that people should not have allowed this man to get into their head as much as they did.
But you know
You
what? He
know,
was around for years before that. Even though I didn't watch The Apprentice, and you probably didn't watch it,
never
that
once.
man has been out there for
I
years.
know, I
People
know,
loved him.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. But it's the thing is that it's like everybody I know, whether it doesn't matter what political party or political persuasion you have, they've basically been reacting to this man for 4 years.
Well,
You
he
know,
can't, he just constantly is throwing out, the flame, I mean, bombs
you know,
every day, tweeting and this
I
and
know,
that.
but it's like Saturday Night Live did last month, or maybe it was it might have been right the week before the election. They did
Yeah,
a spoof where they were
yeah,
basically talking about, oh, it's going to be so great when he's gone, but then they
yeah,
all went, oh,
uh-huh.
but what do we do then? Oh my God, I'll have to pay
Oh,
attention to my family. Oh
oh,
my
oh,
God,
that's
I'll
funny. Yeah,
all of these other
right.
things,
As
and
life goes back to somewhat normalcy and
yeah,
people, I hope
but
that
I
man's not going to
mean,
go away, but
I know, but will CNN oh, I don't know, I'm not going to even speak to Fox News, but
yeah,
will
yeah.
CNN actually talk about things other than what Trump said today?
Oh, actually they do. Do you watch CNN a lot?
A pretty fair
I
amount,
watch
yeah.
MSNBC more because they don't care about having opposing viewpoints. So I
Good,
just,
good. I
you
like
know,
that. Yes.
CNN has that Rick Santorum, and I can't stand him.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I have to say though, in spite of my misgivings about the man,
yeah,
nothing in my mind comes
yeah,
close
yeah.
to what I was seeing these last couple of days with this phone call
Oh my
to
God, do you
officials
believe
in
that?
Georgia,
Do you
pretty
believe
much
that?
just
Unbelievable.
explicitly saying,
And
get me these votes. I mean, listen, I've been involved
I
in
know.
election related things for some time
Yeah,
and involved even in choosing the election hardware that we used
yeah,
in
right,
Cambridge,
right.
20 some odd
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah,
So I do think about these things. I think about ballot custody issues, chain of
yeah,
custody,
right.
verifiable
Yeah,
ballots. I think about all of these things here and all the
yeah,
safeguards that are
yeah,
necessary and the things you can and cannot do. For
right.
example, you can't
Recalculate.
recount, but or well,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a legitimate issue about when can you change the rules governing an election. So, for
Okay.
example, in normal times, if you were going to allow early voting,
Yeah.
normally you wouldn't change to allow that like a week before the election
Right.
or very soon before the election, because even how people design their campaigns are somewhat
Right.
guided by what the rules are. So if you start
Right.
changing the rules
Sure.
late
It
in the
isn't
game, that's
fair.
kind of
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a principle you don't mess with here. So you could, if I was on the Republican side and I wanted to argue that because of the pandemic, that there was some rules change, you could at least make an intellectual argument. But that's not the argument they're
Yeah.
making,
Yeah.
And that phone call, just beyond the pale.
So
Just beyond
glad that they recorded it. He tried calling them 18 times.
well, actually,
18.
I read one
Yeah.
place today
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
thought it was a crank call, and then
Yeah.
only on the 19th they
Yeah.
realized it really was the guy.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, I
No.
like the
And
notion
he
that
was on the phone an hour. An hour.
an hour
Unbelievable.
and so explicitly
Being
pressuring
so
election
corrupt.
officials
Oh my
to make
God.
the vote tally. You
Find me
know,
those
I know.
11,780 votes.
I
One more than we have. One more than
my
it. Yeah.
my greatest wish is
Yeah.
simply in 15 days from now to not hear from him very much anymore. Of course,
Oh,
he'll do otherwise. I just don't want to hear
really?
from him anymore.
He's going to
Eh,
have his
You
own
know,
network or
but
something. I don't know.
and in fact, if that means don't prosecute him for anything, that would be a fine deal
Well,
for me.
New
Just get him
York
out of
will.
here.
Yeah, New
New
York
York
will.
will, sure. But honestly, when I heard this pressuring election officials, I said,
I know.
throw the book at him for that.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
is so off the charts.
unbelievable. He probably figured
Yeah.
he has nothing to lose because he knows he's going to have to leave anyway. So
Yes.
it just
Yes.
confirms if you needed confirmation, if you didn't believe it now, then you're lost. Sorry.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I'm still
anyway.
hopeful, though. I'm going to say
Yeah,
that,
no, I want to believe that.
I
Yeah.
think that, so much of this is like a psychosis, like mass insanity that you can
Yeah.
actually
For
get
four
past.
years.
I
For
think it
4 years. It's
for 4
been,
years, but I
yeah.
actually have a lot of faith in Joe Biden and just as a
Yes.
human being
Yes.
and some of the people around him
Absolutely.
that he'll find a way to kind of reach across the
Yeah.
aisle. I mean, a lot
He's
of people today, because today is the Georgia primary, right?
it's going. I
Um,
have CNN on in the background.
yeah, yeah. And, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock in the importance of Democrats winning both seats. I don't think
I
of that
agree
as,
with you. Right.
that's not so as important as people may think.
Yes.
In fact, there is a
Well,
kind of a downside to it as well.
no, I'd like them to get one.
I think actually that might be a
One,
good message for the country
yes,
too.
yes, yeah,
But first off, if the Democrats win both seats, then the Democrats are just going to fight amongst themselves. You know, the question is it possible? Does Biden and the people around him have the force of conscience and
yeah,
personality to actually be able to pick up the phone and go, Mitch, we got to talk.
yeah.
Let's work
Well,
something out here.
it's more, is Mitch going to want to pick up the phone because he's still in control? But
My
I
my
think
understanding
yeah, go
my
ahead.
understanding is that Biden and McConnell, they were both
They have a long
senators
history.
and
I
they have
know.
a history together. So I actually, again, maybe I'm, Pollyanna here,
Pollyannish.
but,
Well, no, I
but
think you're
I'm
right
hopeful.
because I think a lot of the Republicans that kind of were not happy at all with the Trumpism they would feel more entitled to kind of, well, wait a minute, Mitch, you know what I'm saying? I think Mitch McConnell
Yeah.
knows that. He doesn't have
Yes.
that majority anymore.
Right. Exactly.
And
So
he's been backing away from it for a while. You
I
can
know
see
it.
it.
I know it.
Yeah.
So, this is not sports, folks. This
No.
is about running a country. It's not about
Yeah.
always about winning this race or that
Yeah.
race. It's like, how do we get to a better
Yeah.
place? And, and I just think there are a lot of ways to do
Yeah.
so.
And we don't have to worry about the Patriots. They're out right now.
That's right. That's
They're
right.
not, they're not in the playoffs.
By the way, just a little bit of an update on the,
What?
I'm getting into this a little too early.
Oh, the
It's only
election,
January, but
municipal?
for the municipal elections,
Yeah.
I know
Okay.
nothing about school committee.
Yeah.
That's way beyond me for now. But
Yeah.
I've been kind of spent some time this morning looking over the campaign finance reports to see if any new
Okay.
candidates have emerged and
Yeah.
whatever.
I looked at your stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's actually kind of difficult to read it. We do know that there are 3 incumbent city councilors who are pretty aggressively raising money and have declared themselves. Dennis Carlone, Quentin Zondervan,
Oh, did Quentin
and
just, I didn't see
well,
that.
he may not have made a formal declaration, but to me, when you do a major fundraiser for thousands and thousands of dollars,
Oh,
that is a
was that,
declaration.
I don't get his, number.
No, I just get it from the state, from the Office of
Oh,
Campaign
but I just
Political
looked at your
Finance.
thing today. I didn't see his name on the declared,
He may not be, he hasn't made a formal declaration,
oh,
but
I
he
see, but
is
you can see it on your.
aggressive fundraising when you
Okay,
don't
yeah,
have any debts. That's,
yeah,
that is a declaration in
okay,
itself. So
all right,
I am gonna unofficially just say it's Zondervan, Carlone, and Mark McGovern
right,
are the absolute incumbents who are McGovern especially
yeah,
he's raised more than twice as much as anybody else.
yeah,
So they're gung ho for this. There's also some some actual fundraising for Dana Bollister,
yeah,
Tanaya Hicks. Actually, I saw
yeah,
some serious money coming in. Franz Pierre, who I believe works at Margaret Fuller House,
yeah,
now has, it's not raised a lot of money, but he's just filing bank reports. So
okay,
these are all means they are real candidates. Joe McGurk
yeah,
is also getting bank reports now. So
okay,
those are the 4 newly filed candidates. There are some other candidates who were around in the past who I was looking around today, and you can see that there was financial activity in their campaign accounts relatively late in the year in 2020. So for example, first off, Craig Kelly still has a huge amount of money in his bank account.
oh, he does, oh,
Yeah. So the thing is that if I actually was walking the other day and his wife came bicycling by,
oh,
and I said, "Is
yeah,
Craig running?" And
yeah,
she disappeared into the
yeah,
distance. I
doesn't
didn't
want
hear
to
a
answer that one,
response.
right,
But the thing is that let's not discount the possibility that Craig Kelly may reemerge as a
this,
candidate.
yeah, now I'm going to ask you, since you know all things about this, has there ever been a candidate that lost either an incumbent or somebody new that ran again and won?
Yes.
Who?
Oh,
All right, tell me
sure. Danny Clinton.
who. Okay, that goes way
Certainly on the
back.
school committee, Mark McGovern.
Okay.
Also on the school committee, Freddie Fantini. He
Well,
actually
yeah, but the
lost one
school
time.
committee, I know more so than the city council.
Right. But
So
I think
city,
on the city council, the answer is yes.
really, but
Yeah.
not,
Well, Danny Clinton, I think, right?
yeah, but
And
that's going back like 30 years.
yeah, because usually, I mean, I think let's see, did Al Vellucci leave and come back? I'm not sure. I
I don't
can't
know.
remember
You're
now.
talking like,
It's been a while, but usually it's when people leave, the power of incumbency is that such that if you're an incumbent, chances are you get reelected. And if you are not reelected, it usually means your star is fading. I think this 2019 was something of an
such an
anomalous
anomaly.
year.
Exact, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craig Kelly, for example, got more votes than he had ever gotten and
As
lost.
you mean number
Yeah,
one votes,
number one
right?
votes
Yeah,
and lost.
right,
So,
right.
so I have to view that as a kind of not
I agree.
necessarily
I agree.
a sign of the future. He's a very strong, viable candidate if he chooses to do
I
so.
would love him to run.
Other people who ran last time who are, I would consider viable, but a lot of this also depends on whether incumbents, if there are any
It's any
vacancies.
right, which we
But
don't know right now if there would be.
one person who has not said yay or nay about running again would be Nicola Williams,
Oh,
but
right,
she was a strong candidate.
right, right.
Our friend Patrick Barrett is
Yeah.
probably going to be a candidate,
Well,
which
we'll
will be,
see.
well, it's debatable, but
I don't know.
honestly,
Yeah.
considering the fact that he's written more zoning than any of the
I know.
incumbents.
But I think we've talked, I mean, there would be things he couldn't do as a counselor that he can do now.
Uh,
You know,
yes, there's
I mean, new developments. It'd be like Trump. I mean, Trump could care less, but Pat, he couldn't engage in development. He couldn't engage in certain
and
things.
that's not true, actually. That's not true.
No, but he'd have to divorce himself from certain things.
Absolutely true. Yes,
Yeah.
but the thing is, I still think it's a manageable thing, So,
Yeah.
so anyway, but I think it's important to sort of keep that in mind. One other person who was a candidate, not last time around, but the time before, was Sam Gebru. And he was
Yes.
moving quite a bit of money around in his bank account, but that may have been to pay off old debts. I don't even know.
True.
But I don't know what he's up to, but I'm not going to write him off. I
Right.
think he's another person who possibly could come back. Theodora Skiatis, who's working, I think, is sort of the exec director of Cambridge Local First, is still rumored. It's in rumor stage as a possible candidate.
Is she a long-term Cambridge person? Not that you have to be, but I was just curious.
Long enough, yeah, I'd say. Another person who I don't really know that much about was Risa Mednick, who was a candidate last year.
Oh, for the school committee.
No,
no. She was the city council. That's
yeah,
right.
sort of like a kind of a climate change,
right,
but also kind of glommed onto the ABC crowd. She, I don't think she did super well, but the thing is, she does still. She retains her bank account with a piece of change in there. Another person was Burhan Hazim, who was sort of like, in a sense, the runner-up amongst the ABC crowds, and I don't know what's become of him.
Kind of like a Jivan, a little bit.
Maybe so. The thing is, I'm just going to make a personal observation about all candidates is that, to me, I would rather say if a person is a candidate and doesn't win, they shouldn't just disappear until the next election.
They should have been doing things.
Yeah, that's not sending a particularly good sign to me personally.
Yeah, whereas like someone like you just said, Nicola Williams, she does public comment. She's involved a lot. So she did not go silent. Yes.
Exactly. So, and the thing is, it's not always just a matter of sort of being in the public eye. Are you actively involved in doing things around town?
Well, what would you say then about some of those new names?
Well, for example, Theodore Skiatis working with Cambridge Local First.
Well, that one I know, but what about Joe McQuirk? What has he done?
I don't know enough about him. I'm looking forward to meeting him, but I don't know enough about him. But I think my understanding from just a very short email interchange with him was that, he feels there are certain voices in the city are not being heard.
I don't think I've ever heard maybe he has done public comment. The name somewhat sounds familiar.
I don't know, but the thing is, like I used to say that when people look about community groups, they always think about community groups as neighborhood associations and political groups and whatever. Whereas if you were from East Cambridge, just being involved in a local church, being driving the community there, or Sal DiDomenico's parents were putting together the festivals down in East Cambridge.
But usually you hear of that and stuff. I mean,
it might, even if it's just in the neighborhood. So so I might not know about what people are actually involved in, and they may actually be very involved in certain
Uh,
communities,
I
within the
I don't
city.
know. I tend to see it the other
Yeah,
way.
I
Yeah.
just would, I just want to see people kind of proving themselves a little
Yeah.
bit,
Right. Right.
uh, and I don't know, maybe that's take that, if you're any candidates are watching, take that as a suggestion, between now and November, kind of, get out there, will you?
Be out
All
there.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so anyway, so that's from national political national
Right. So
political
just to
world to
let
the
right.
local.
And it is election night in Georgia, as we say today.
Yes,
So
yeah,
that'll be
and
interesting to see what
again,
happens.
I don't know whether for a single state whether we're going to have the same kind of like waiting game for days and days and days to hear what actually
Well,
is
I didn't
happening,
hear whether they are counting the mail-in ballots.
or when they're counting them. Yeah,
Right,
because
whether they've been counting them or whether they have to wait till the
yeah,
next
in
vote.
Massachusetts, they basically could pre-count them, but they
Yeah,
couldn't hit the button to get the totals.
right, but
But at
that was
least they could have
right,
been processed.
exactly. So I
And
forget what it is in Georgia.
yeah,
I don't know.
and yeah, so I don't know what their rules are, but I heard one optimistic view that you might
Yeah.
actually get a sense by the end of the night, but
Oh, I think
we'll
so.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what's going on here. I think.
So locally, like, what are the issues you got on the
Well,
table?
actually, let's just say one other thing here, and I think
Yeah.
maybe I'll actually kind of switch to the graphics briefly
Okay.
for this
Oh, is this
here.
about COVID?
Yeah, the thing is that I just actually updated this today. So
Right, January
there,
5th, right.
right. So there was an additional, I mean, previous day there was 40 something additional positive tests. It's 26. One should never be swayed too much by what you
Right,
see on a
because it can
single
change.
day.
Right.
Right. But
Ooh, confirmed
another
death,
26, but there was an
three more.
additional confirmed death in a long-term care facility as of today. So we're up to 111.
What was it?
It had been flatlined at
I
about
know,
100
for a
for
while.
82 days.
Well, it was 99 for a really long time, and then it was,
Yes, but it went for when it hit 100, it stayed that way for like
oh,
over 2 months or something.
really?
Yeah, and then it's only been with this latest
Last,
surge that
since the
things have been
15th, yeah,
increasing.
no, it's
Now,
true.
for the mathematically inclined, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but
Yeah,
I just want to point out, if you look at the graph of the showing here, at least one person was suggesting that it's growing exponentially. I want to just dictate, I want to say that from a mathematician's point of view,
right,
that is pretty much straight line linear growth. And
yeah,
to me, I think even though I'm not happy with what the 7-day averages are,
yeah,
the fact that it has such a slope and it's increasing at 20 something
yeah,
additional infections recorded per day, but it is not accelerating. So I'm going to give a little bit of a hats off to the public health people for taking enough steps to make sure that even though it's on the increase and we don't like the rate of increase, doesn't appear to be it's not accelerating, it's not getting any faster. The
yeah,
goal from now on should be to start lowering that slope.
yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any leveling until things really the vaccines becomes the reality. So,
But
you
wait a
know,
minute, you know what, that's only 1 month. What does that say at the other end?
this is
Just
about
November?
40,
Oh,
about a month
okay.
and a half or so of data here,
Can you
which is really
show it
with,
from can you show it from the beginning to see the slope?
I don't have it posted here, no,
Oh,
but I'll show you another graph right here now,
okay, all right.
which is if you just look at the
That's
7-day running averages.
that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, so
Okay.
what you can see here is that it is absolutely
Oh, wow.
clear that the
Yeah.
surge that we are in now is far worse than
Look,
anything we had in the
indoors,
spring.
holidays, everything. The weather
We've,
change,
I
everything.
think many of us have at least developed some perspective. A lot of
Hmm.
us lived in absolute dire fear in April.
Yeah. Yep.
Nowadays, most of
Yep.
us don't see this as absolute fear anymore, so much
Really?
as
I don't know.
serious problem.
I've spoken
Well,
to some people and they're very
I
concerned.
think some people are, but people like me aren't going out with rubber gloves, right?
Right, but you don't, but you've been careful all along.
And we
You
be
do not,
careful. But
yeah,
the thing
yeah,
is, most of us, almost everybody, really is being careful.
true.
Being careful is
Yeah.
not the same thing as going into insect fear mode.
Yeah,
Right,
okay. Yeah,
people are being cautious, and
yeah.
what's driving the surge nowadays
Oh, I gotta
is
look at the time. Yeah, go ahead. I was
it
just,
tends to be amongst people in their 20s and 30s, though not
yep,
exclusively.
yeah.
So
No,
anyway,
it's
so
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't push this too much more here, but I just want to say that there's no getting around that this is still going to be like front and center topic as far as the body politic of
Well, we'll
Cambridge
be
goes
seeing it
for
now
some
because like the
time.
holidays were just 10 days ago. So
Yeah, you know what's going to be interesting, and we haven't seen it yet because the rolling out of the vaccinations has been so
yeah,
recent
yeah,
that at some point there will be ways to measure the effect of the vaccine on the
I
general
hope so.
population.
Yeah.
And you know, and you'll start to see some sort of leveling. Or for example, if they said, well, you know, the last case of a healthcare worker who got
Yeah.
infected was 30 days ago. And I'll say, well, that's amazingly great news when we start hearing data like that.
Right. But we don't even
It's,
hear that data now, though, about
we're not
people.
going to hear it yet because the thing is the vaccinations are really
No,
new.
no, but even before that, they're not telling us this healthcare worker got. I mean, that's
They're not giving you specifics like
no.
that, but the thing is that if they remember when there was the soldiers' home where there were, you know,
Oh,
specific, you were
absolutely.
getting
That.
site-specific
Oh, well,
information.
yeah, because it was one site. Absolutely.
Right, you were hearing about certain
Sure.
healthcare facilities
No.
where they would say how many people
Yep.
of the staff had become
Right.
infected.
No, that's
So
right.
at
Very
some point,
identifiable. Yeah.
there is a good likelihood that you'll actually start hearing good stories about
From
how there
those
has
kinds of places, that
from
would
those
be a
kinds
good
of
test.
places.
Right. That's true.
Or we will
Yeah.
maybe hear from public safety people because they're
Right.
also pretty early in the
Right.
rollout,
Right.
that we haven't had a single infection amongst police
Right.
officers in X
Right.
number of
That's true.
days. You know, I think people are going to be pretty hungry for that kind of good news,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I suspect it will be coming
Yes.
pretty
Yes.
soon. But so the libraries are going to be closed for what, 3 weeks? Absolutely
Well,
closed, right?
well, they're supposed to be closed till the 18th, but it
Okay.
could go beyond.
Yeah, there
The
was some
18th is 2
interesting.
weeks from yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some kind of interesting discussion about the schools, the sort of
Oh, yes.
the protocols for when schools
Yes.
stay open or
Yeah,
don't
that's a
stay
big
open.
issue. Yep.
You know, and it seems like there is a lot of pressure being levied at the city council level
Yep.
to kind of
There was
modify
a
things.
policy order, but they'd actually talked about it a lot during the COVID, so they didn't even
Yeah,
talk about it.
yeah.
Didn't
So
come up with, yeah,
and again, like restaurants and gyms and
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
being more site specific and
Right.
you know, detailed, I think is exactly the way
Exactly.
to go
And
in
testing.
terms of
They
these.
have to
You
have
know,
some kind of
yeah,
testing protocol record.
right. But broad brush
Right.
prohibitions as
Right.
opposed to site
Right.
specific prohibitions
Right.
is really, I think, the way
Okay.
to go. So,
All right. We've got a few seconds left and we're
all
going to
right,
come back
we'll
for
be
a
back on
second
Cambridge
segment.
Inside Out.
Bye. See
All
you
right.
then.
All right.